Hello, Professor Sassafras here, and today I'm starting a video series. I'll try to make sure that I produce one of these at least once every 4 months or so, or until people lose interest. But the general idea is that we take a character and we try to figure out what their greatest mistake was. I mean, characters can have a lot of mistakes, but we want to know that if we had to pick one that was the biggest, what is the greatest mistake of that character? Like, for instance, if we covered Voldemort in a video, we would ask ourselves what mistake was the biggest one that cost him the win against Harry in the Wizarding World. And you can feel free to leave suggestions in the comments for the next character that I cover, but today we're going to cover Anakin Skywalker. Now, we all know Anakin Skywalker falls to the dark side, but what was Anakin's biggest mistake? Or what was the biggest reason behind his fall? People make a lot of YouTube videos on this, and generally speaking, they have a lot of answers. Some people will say it's Obi-Wan's fault because he should have trained Anakin better. Some people will blame Qui-Gon because it was Qui-Gon's idea for Obi-Wan to train him, and if it wasn't for Qui-Gon, the entire galaxy probably wouldn't know that Anakin was the chosen one, and Palpatine wouldn't have found out he's the chosen one. Other people blame Yoda, the Council, the war, and again, some people blame Palpatine. But what was the real reason behind his fall? If we just have to pick one thing, what was the biggest? The main cause. Now, no, we don't want to talk about the things that tipped the scales, or the straw that broke the camel's back, where Anakin was really, really close to falling, but this is what tipped the scales. And we don't want to talk about events that planted the seeds either. But we want to go, what was the biggest reason behind his fall? And before we get into that, let me tell you a story. A while ago, my dad once told me that sometimes life decides to teach you a difficult lesson. And if you don't learn it, sometimes life will often keep giving you the same lesson until you learn it. And I bring this up because this really perfectly describes Anakin's character. I mean, eventually, Anakin does finally learn the lesson in Return of the Jedi, chooses his family first, and saves the day. But oh my, the amount of times to get there is just unreal. Like, for starters, originally Anakin lived with his mom, and his mom does die eventually. But she willingly chose to send Anakin away of her own free will. She didn't want to do that, she loved her son. But she knew that sending him away would be better for Anakin, even though it wouldn't have been the best for her. So she also knew that the Jedi Order would give Anakin a better life than she could. So she sacrificed herself for the sake of Anakin having a better life. And it did work, honestly. Now, Anakin often focuses on the tragedy that he lost his mom, but her sacrifice wasn't in vain. And the opposite was also true. He gained new family members as well. Because before his mom died, she would remarry, giving Anakin a stepbrother, a stepsister, and even a stepfather. And he would gain a brother in Obi-Wan, and his friend Padme would eventually become his wife, meaning her parents would be Anakin's parents-in-law. Now, we don't often see all these characters, but they were there. And he did have family and parents and father figures to reach out to if he had wanted to. And here we run into the first big mistake, which is pretty much on full display in Attack of the Clones. You see, he spends so much time spiraling and focusing on his mom that he loses focus on the reason she sent him away. That she was sacrificing herself. She loses focus on his family. And it gets to the point to where he abandons his mission in the Attack of the Clones, cuts off communication with Obi-Wan, and puts both Padme and Obi-Wan in pretty grave danger because there's like a literal bounty hunter trained assassin who's hired to kill Padme. And Anakin's putting everyone on the line to go and focus on his mom. It gets to the point to where even Qui-Gon Jinn's voice reaches out in the Attack of the Clones movie through the Force, but even Qui-Gon can't convince him to snap out of it. And remember, Padme was the character he obsesses over in Revenge of the Sith, but even she couldn't snap him out of it. And what happens is he gets there too late, his mom dies, and then he just really starts spiraling and spiraling. And he slaughters an entire Tusken Raider village with women and children in it. And it really wasn't until the damage was done and Obi-Wan was captured that and that his mom's already dead that Padme's finally able to break through to him. And she did kind of practically have to bully him into doing the right thing and rescuing Obi-Wan in the movie. Now, I know that Anakin Skywalker loved his mom, and that wasn't wrong. And oftentimes, people in the Jedi Order do fail Padawan training, and this is actually one of the reasons why the Order didn't want to train him. There are actually good reasons why the Order prefers to train people younger. It's not just to be mean to Anakin. And if Anakin wanted to, he probably as a child could have given up and asked to go home. And they probably would have done that because people do fail Padawan training. And while there's nothing wrong with him being concerned for his mom, this wasn't the appropriate time because he endangered the lives of other family members through his actions. And again, he focused so much on what he was losing that he forgot about his blessings. He forgot about all the new family members that he gained. And some people were like, oh, well, he didn't have a father figure. He had father figures, right? Before his mom died, she did remarry, giving him a stepfather. And when he married Padme's father became his father-in-law. So he did have father figures. He just didn't really want to listen. And he does that a lot. He just doesn't want to listen. I mean, remember, even Qui-Gon's voice reaches out in the Force, and like he still doesn't listen. And he doesn't learn the lesson. All he did was by the end of Attack of the Clones, replace Padme as the object he obsesses over. And remember that story I told you on how life sometimes keeps giving us the same lessons until we learn it? Well, that's literally what happens again. And that's pretty much the entire plot of Revenge of the Sith. Because in Revenge of the Sith, his wife gets pregnant, and Anakin starts freaking out and expecting that she's going to die. So he stops listening to everyone. He starts spiraling, and he does anything he can to like prevent her from dying, and he falls to the dark side. Yes, there were factors outside of his control, but the biggest tragedy was Anakin was again making the exact same mistake he made last time. He was focusing so much on how Padme was leaving his life, that he forgot that he was going to be a father and children were going to enter his life. And he didn't just forget, he forgot hard. He forgot so badly that even 20 years later, he meets Princess Leia. He knows she's adopted and she's in the spitting image of Padme and shares Padme Sparks' views, looks just like Padme, and he doesn't recognize her. Luke shows up with Obi-Wan and the Death Star. He's wearing Tatooine clothes, can use the Force. Excellent pilot, like his father Anakin was, and even uses the Force and blows up the Death Star. Doesn't recognize him. And it really does just take Palpatine to kind of explain to him that he has kids. That is just how badly that he forgot. And it's like, yeah, he does love and value his children more than anything else. And in Return of the Jedi, he does sacrifice himself for them. But it's tragic that 20 years pass. He doesn't think about his kids once. And all he had to do to find his son was just simply go home. But he focused so much on how Padme was leaving his life, he missed out about having his children in his life. It the children of Anakin was Padme's final gift to him, and he missed it. And honestly, Padme was regularly seeing Coruscant doctors. That's how she knew she was pregnant. That's how she knew that she was going to have twins. And she probably would have told Anakin she was having twins if he spent more time with her, which he didn't. And Padme was also probably warned several times by the doctor she might not survive her pregnancy, and she accepted her fate. If she survived, she would raise her kids with Anakin, and if she died, she would spend her last final moments alive with her husband before she gave her final gift to him: two loving kids, loving babies, ready for a father's love. And what's really sad is that really all Padme wants is to just simply spend some time with her husband and then leave loving kids for him. That's really all she wants. And she already knew that she might not survive the pregnancy, and she just wanted to spend her last moments with him. And Anakin just misses it. And yeah, Anakin really wanted to save her. But if Anakin had really thought about this, he literally had no proof that Palpatine actually had the power to save his wife's life. All Palpatine gave Anakin was words. He didn't give a demonstration. He didn't give any books or proof on this power working. He just gave words, and Anakin took his word for it. And honestly, he should have told his wife about the offer, and they should have made the decision together. He shouldn't have just made the choices for her. And if he had thought about it, even if Palpatine did have that power, which I don't think he did, Padme probably would have refused. She would never want thousands of Jedi and people in the galaxy to die just to save her. She would have refused, and again, she had accepted her fate. And yes, the Council did refuse to make Anakin a master, but the thing was, Anakin never actually asked to be made a master. I mean, if you don't believe me, go watch the movie again. Palpatine ordered them to make him a master, and they refused Palpatine's demand. And it was pretty much confirmed that at least three masters on the council already knew that Anakin was married to Padme and that he wanted out of the war and that Padme was pregnant with twins and that Anakin was the father. And those individuals would be Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Mace Windu, the most important members of the council. And they were just choosing to keep quiet about it. So all this time, Anakin was trying to keep this big secret, and they already knew for the most part. And while it's technically illegal for Jedi to get married, out of all the rules that there are, this has been one of those rules that have had the most exceptions. And there has been a history for Jedi making exceptions. Like Darth Revan, after he was defeated and returned to the light side, he gets married. Master Ki Mundi, another Jedi, also gets married. And Luke Skywalker from the Legends, where there is an active Jedi Council and Jedi Order, he also gets married. I mean, yeah, it wasn't very common, but it does have a history for exceptions to be made in the past. And like Anakin, a lot of people in the Order were tired of being in the war. They wanted out of the war, out of galactic politics. And even the Council just wanted the war to be done and over with. So, really, if he had just been more honest with the Council, they probably could have worked something out. And whatever deal they had offered probably would have been more honest, straightforward, and better than what Palpatine was offering. And again, he just spent so much time obsessing over Padme's death, he lost sight that he had other family members. And that's the biggest tragedy. He didn't learn the lesson, and he forgot about his children. Man, all she wanted to do was to spend time with her husband and leave her kids with him. But Anakin was trying to solve a problem that didn't exist. Okay, fine, maybe the Jedi Council wasn't helpful. Maybe Obi-Wan wasn't the best trainer. Palpatine was tempting him and preying on his weakness. But all this was avoidable. If he had just stopped spiraling for a moment, went home and spent time with his wife, he probably would have learned about the twins, and he probably wouldn't have fallen to the dark side. I mean, what part of Anakin thought his wife would be A-okay with him slaughtering Jedi in the temple if it meant saving her life? And because of his actions, he lost the chance to raise his children. It's like he lost that opportunity. And that's the tragedy. And even after his fall in Revenge of the Sith, anytime Vader wanted, he could have gone to expert cloners to clone new limbs and lungs and do surgeries to help him heal from those Mustafar burns, get out of that suit. He could have had a clone that cloned a son for himself, like Jango Fett. If he had any of Padme's DNA, he could have cloned a new wife or a daughter. He could have done something. But he was so obsessed that he really didn't even remember the reason why he sought power in the first place. He just knew that Palpatine was the key to maintaining his power and an empire. And in conclusion, the core reason Anakin fell to the dark side was honestly Anakin himself. And Anakin is a character that serves as a lesson to us in the real world. He became so focused and bitter and angry on everything he was losing, he forgot about his blessings, about the other people who were in his life. And he forgot that he wasn't just losing someone in Revenge of the Sith, he was gaining two new people in his life, children. And they would have been a great addition to his life, but he lost the opportunity to have them in his life because he just couldn't calm down and think straight for a moment. He just obsessed so much on avoiding losing Padme. And that's honestly probably the biggest reason why he fell. That is the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker the Kind. And it's ironic because in order to save what he was losing, he sacrificed everything else, including the chance to raise his children, and he forgot about them. Those children were going to be the final gift from Padme to him, and he sacrificed everything to prevent Padme from dying. In double irony, Padme dies anyway. In triple irony, I don't think Palpatine ever had the power to save his wife anyway. And all this could have been avoided if he just spent more time with his wife. And that is why Anakin Skywalker fell to the dark side. There are other reasons, but I think that's the biggest reason. And that's a wrap for this character. That is what I think his biggest mistake was and his greatest flaw was. If you have other characters you would like me to cover, let me know. Voldemort is another character I'm thinking about, but you can list other characters you want. The idea is I go over a character and I try to focus on what would have been their biggest flaw if they had one flaw. And that's a wrap. Professor Sassafras signing out.